again, my work is about changing the world, and I change the world meeting by meeting. So that's how I see my work. And I'm interested in how you're talking about how this was set up. So I'm sitting there thinking, this is a little scenario of what happens to me. You're debriefing how the session yesterday was set up and what the impact of the setup was on the experience for everybody. So that's what I have to pay attention to. And right now, I'm paying attention to what I know about you and therefore what I've prepared to talk about and engage you with. I'm also aware, as is normal, that the situation is always emergent. I was told, I thought that I had a 1.5 hours, and then I learned it was 1.25, and now it's less than 1.
No, it's 1.25.
1.25.
Oh, so it's 1.25. Okay, so we're getting clear about that. So what I'm saying is that in any of the situations I work in, I have to pay attention to the context all of the time, and I have to weave a kind of story into what's possible. Okay, so here I am. 1 week ago today, at this time, I was standing in a room on the edge, really, of the Ngorongoro crater. Does anyone know that? One person knows that. Okay, it's not so far away from Kilimanjaro Airport, about 4 hours. And I was standing in front of a room with about the same number of people, and about 40 to 50. And the people were the entire senior management group of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. And their organization is based in Arusha. And this included the president, the chief prosecutor, the registrar, and the whole senior team. 2 of these 3 people that I've commented on were under-secretary generals. I've never been in a room with 1 before, let alone 2. And the 3rd person was an assistant secretary general. And all of the key senior staff. And we were into the 3rd day of a process where this group of senior leaders would have to close down their organization within 2 years with 800 staff. Still 9 fugitives outstanding, 3 that they were tracking and hoping to catch, a detention center full of people who had been convicted, other people attached to their system who had been acquitted but had nowhere in the world to live because no country would accept them. They had witnesses and victims with severe disability, including HIV/AIDS because of the mass rape that was part of the genocide. And these 800 people had listened to every story of perhaps the most brutal undertaking that humanity has ever envisaged over 17 years. And they now were stepping into a process that's unprecedented in the UN system, which is an organization is closing. That's never happened before. And so these people had a task of complexity that was extraordinary. And we were into our 3rd day at 9:00 on last Sunday. So it's interesting to be standing in front of you. And just to give you a flavor of what we had to do, and we had 2.5 days together to do that. So I'm not going to tell you what happened, except to say we achieved together a very transformational process, which on their part was entirely unexpected. They had never experienced themselves as a group of senior leaders in this way at the end of day 3. And they had their hands around an understanding of the task that was ahead of them in a way that they could never have conceived of before they stepped in the room. So, that's my job. And that's my bar. I have to get to that transformational level, not just a transactional meeting where pieces fit together and you end up with an action plan. That's not enough. Because unless I can move this group of people to be different together, that action plan is not going to go anywhere. 2 weeks prior to that, I was standing in a room in Jordan, and for those of you who know Nigel Pont, one of our CC cohort, Nigel was in the room. And Nigel is the regional director for Mercy Corps for the whole Middle East. And in the room we had about 50 people from 8 shaky countries: Iraq, Palestine, Syria, Yemen, and others. And we had the directors and senior national staff, and we had about 20 of those people were from headquarters, from Portland, from Edinburgh, and dotted around the world with technical expertise. And this group of people had come together to figure out what were the regional, what they call value propositions that Mercy Corps could have in this very challenging donor environment, and really deliver to the people they had a commitment to in these 8 countries. So again, it was 3 days. It was great to have Nigel as a partner because we're on the same page in many things. But it was really hard work. And again, fortunately, we as a group were able to get to a level of coherence, internal coherence, that was transformational. So at the end, the people said, we have never experienced our organisation in this way, ever, together. So fortunately for me, we had been able to transform the group and also reach these value propositions, which was unexpected, in such incredible diversity. And the commitment to this output or outcome was written in people's hearts and in their eyes when they left. So again, now, just to say to you, so that's my work, and I work with extraordinary complexity. I'm a Kiwi, I come from New Zealand, and I'm going to bring you into my world for just 2 minutes, or perhaps 3. And I'm going to ask you to pair up. So can you just identify someone you're going to pair up with? And I'm going to...
Okay. You have 2?
Okay, I'm not just a New Zealander, I'm actually a Pakeha. I'm a Pakeha New Zealander. Because I'm a white New Zealander in a bicultural society. Pakeha is the Maori word for a white New Zealander. And in my country, we've been on a very bumpy, but it's still going forward, learning journey about being bicultural. And so we integrate into the lives of communities everywhere throughout New Zealand the rituals and the perspectives of Maori. And one of the concepts that I like a lot, and I'm creating a little icebreaker, is tūrangawaiwai. Say it. Tūrangawaiwai. Tūrangawaiwai means the place I stand tall. For the Maori, the place they stand tall was their marae. Their marae was where the bones of their ancestors were buried. And each person's afterbirth from the birthing was buried also. So when a Maori person wants to go back and stand tall, they go back to that place, traditionally. In New Zealand now, we use the concept of tūrangawaiwai to mean, where do we go to be regenerated? Where do we go to get strength? And so in our modern culture, we use that concept for each of us. Is it a place? I know in Nigeria, where I've worked a number of times, it's the village. For some of us, it's an activity. We do something that gives us that capacity back again. And for others, it's a place that's inside ourselves that we return to in a quiet space. So I'm going to give you 1 minute just to exchange, or 2 minutes. What is your Turangawaewae? Where is it?